Hey, everybody, welcome to the BA Zone's pre-show. We've got about 2 minutes before we go live. Hope everybody's having a terrific day today, night today, wherever you happen to be. Tonight should be a great show. We're going to be talking about some techniques, some BA techniques. We haven't talked about that in a while, so stay tuned for that. Spring has sprung. As you can tell, I'm in a different environment, so you can tell it's spring when you see this background. So it's a place to run away to. Hopefully everybody has a place to run away to, even if it's only in your own mind. Run away, go, relax. But anyway, so how's everybody doing tonight? Listen, if you have any comments or you just want to hang out with us and chat, feel free to drop in. We always welcome extra comments or questions. And Kathleen is in the back end doing some stuff tonight. So Kathleen, say hello to the people. Give a shout out. Let's see if she
Hello
does.
to the people.
So hello to the people. Yes. Say, Marianne, I'm going to write you a big check because she'll say anything I ask her to, because she's just repeating it.
Nice try.
Nice try. I did try on that one. All right. 1 minute to go, kids. Make sure you get that martini glass chilling or that hot cup of tea boiling, whatever your drink of choice is. And we'll start our show in just a minute here. All righty. Tony the BA. Hey, Tony, how you doing tonight? Good to see you. Welcome. What are you up to today? Anything good? It might take a while for him to respond. So, this is what happens chatting over the internet. You never know what's going to happen. Okay, it is magic time. It is 8 o'clock and we are ready to go. Welcome everybody to the BA Zones live show. Tonight, we're going to be talking about 5 techniques for better requirements gathering and elicitation. So we're going to be talking about our favorite techniques for better requirements and give you some useful insider tips. I'm Marianne Morrison, and Kathleen Sinnott is behind the scene managing our production booth. And together we are the BA Zone. So if you have any questions or comments during the show, don't be shy, just jump right in. And if you just want to hang out with us and maybe pick up some polite dinner conversation, well, that's fine too. Everybody is welcome. So make yourself comfortable, relax, and open up your mind while Kathleen starts us off with a little mood music. Kathleen? Okay, all right. So as business analysts, we use a variety of techniques and tools and approaches to acquire and document the information that we need. The type of technique or approach that you choose can depend on the project itself, what part of the project that you're currently working on or that you've been pulled into, because we don't always get pulled in from the beginning, do we? No. The current need or objective that you may have, and how effective you as the BA thinks the technique will be given the current audience, users, or existing documentation or lack thereof. So let's start with surveys and questionnaires. It's one of our favorites. When you want to get the lay of the land, to gauge the level of user satisfaction with an application, a process, or a service, or understand the user's perceptions and their expectations, identify their pain points, what slows them down, stops them, frustrates them. You can use a survey or a questionnaire to quickly and inexpensively obtain facts, opinions, and even identify behaviors from a large group of people. Now, if you actually want those people to respond to that survey, there's a few things you have to do, right? You have to keep the survey or the questionnaire short, concise. Start with 5 to 10 questions and make it easy to get the information that you need while making the user feel that they can freely convey their issues and their needs. And of course, they're going to throw their wants in there. So, you're going to have to decide what is a want versus a need, but that comes a little later. So how do you go about making them feel like they're getting their point across while you're getting specific information? The way to do that is to mix up the question types and the formats. So where you need concise information that relative to a specific process or feature, use questions that have checkboxes or multiple choice or radio buttons. And then the most important thing really is to use those open-ended questions to find out what you don't know, right? Because there's a lot of stuff we don't know until we know it. So, when you're looking, those type of questions are sort of like, what do you like about the application that you're using? The top three things. What do you dislike about the application? And those are types of questions that are open-ended, and people can vent a little, they can give you their opinion, and sometimes they give you that little bit of nugget of, oh my gosh, that is like something everybody should be doing, and it's not being utilized. People are doing it offline or something. So that mix of those type of questions. Then of course you have the check boxes and things like, what features do you use every day the most? And they can be check boxes, or you can use a scale, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate which features do you use the most, 1 being the most. How long does it take to complete a specific task or a process? The top three things that you would like to see changed or improved. And those are just five, but I mean, you get the idea, you get the gist of when you're looking at a specific thing, getting that overall view from everyone. Of course, the most important thing about using surveys and questionnaires is that you report back to the user your findings, all the results, and especially the plan as part of those results of how you're going to address those particular issues or needs or enhancements that you'd like to use. So, that's the most important thing, because if you don't do that, right, they're never going to trust you to answer another survey question. And, you could periodically go back every 6 months, every year, and do these type of things. Corporations do it all the time. They have annual surveys of how people are doing and departments are doing. So this is just, how is the application, the service, the product doing? And that is really the power of surveys. Inexpensive. You go out there and I think SurveyMonkey, you can ask 10 free questions and get it out there. Follow-up emails to say, you've only got 2 days left, et cetera, et cetera. And then when you get that information back, to definitely do a really thorough analysis and give them back a plan. So if you'd like more information on creating surveys and questionnaires, we've created a free ebook that's out there, and it's been out there for a while, and Kathleen's got it there at the bottom of the screen. Just go to thebazone.com and you can find it there under the ebook. So that's just a little giveaway. Definitely do that if you want to find out more about that. Excuse me, losing my voice a little. Springtime, allergy season. Okay. Number 2 on our list is interviews. Interviewing is the process of, asking questions of an individual or a group of people in order to obtain information, right? You see people interviewing people all the time. They can be, you can use a set or predefined questions, or you can be more free-flowing and conversational. And I have to tell you, the best interviews really have a combination of both. They have those predefined questions that the BA weaves into a free-flowing conversation. And that takes practice, right? But it puts everyone at ease, and it tends to open people up a little bit more. Just sort of a little bit of conversation, sort of weave this, specific question in. On the flip side of getting that information, the user or the interviewee has to be willing and able to provide that information, in order for this technique to be successful. So it's that it takes two to create a really good interview process. And, besides eliciting information, reviews do other things as well. It helps you, even if you don't get the best information out of a user, it does help you understand and gauge the participants' motivations. Are they positive, negative, indifferent? or maybe they've been totally ignored this entire time, and applications have been made, which has happened, without asking the users anything. Um, Interviews will help you build that relationship by actively listening to someone. So interviews can help identify and reduce conflict, allowing the BA to find common ground between the users, the stakeholders, the clients, et cetera, in order to promote that sort of team building by focusing on that common ground or that common goal, getting them all pointed in the same direction. And by doing that, it sort of facilitates this buy-in, getting buy-in from people by setting and communicating expectations. So there's a whole lot of things involved with that interview process and the interview techniques, but it's not just about getting the information you need. It's really about building these relationships so that you can if I build a relationship with this person, they know someone and they're going to point me in that direction, and they're going to give me sort of a good promo before I get there. This person's going to listen to you, pay attention to you. So some of the tips around interviewing people or groups of people, and the main tip that I have to tell you is to be prepared. Whatever style of interview you use, make a plan. What are you going to discuss? What are you going to confirm? What are you going to document? You need to take notes, but you need to make that eye contact, right? So there's that, let them know up front that you're going to be taking some notes and asking questions, while they talk. You don't want your head buried down constantly without ever looking up, just documenting away. That's not the way to do an effective interview. And the questions themselves are there to sort of generate a conversation. Because it's in the conversation that you'll get the answers that you need, and really a deeper understanding of where people are coming from, what they're dealing with. If you can also do, direct observation or shadowing, but when you're just interviewing someone and, you try to make eye contact, obviously, if you're on the phone, right, there's not a whole lot of eye contact, but there is that effective listening and not interrupting people when they're talking. Let them, even if it takes another interview session to get everything you need, don't interrupt someone because they're thinking, as they're talking, they're thinking as well. So you don't want to be someone who is just talking to hear themselves talk or hear their own theories. You really want to actively listen to someone. And that's really what we should be doing when someone's talking anyway. It's just common courtesy and politeness. But as far as an interview process, it's extremely important. And it also makes sure you're both on the same page by actively listening with your whole body, and pay attention to their body language and their tone as well if you're in the same room. I can't say it enough, face-to-face interviewing is the best kind of interviewing. If we have to do it over Skype, even, or some type of media where you can see someone, that's great. It's a lot harder over the phone. It can be done, but it's much better for a connectivity, or making a connection with someone, I should say. As far as taking notes, if you need to create a form to quickly outline and categorize your notes or document the information, then do that so that you're not constantly scribbling. If you need to create a set of abbreviations that you can quickly document, sort of like your own shorthand, if you're talking, you identify a business rule, BR, little BR note, FR, functional requirement. You can create your own shorthand, and this will help with you being able to maintain a conversation while also getting those notes down. And don't forget, whatever you do, to thank them when you're done. Thank them for their time. Everybody's time is precious. And just ask them if it's okay if you can contact them again with follow-up questions. And, once you start this relationship, they're going to say, sure, I'm free, just, tap me, come on in, whatever, and you can get that done. And while we're talking about thanking people for their time, I just want to take a little minute here to thank and welcome all our newcomers to our community. Big round of applause. We really appreciate you spending time with us. And if you haven't done so, we invite you to sign up for our mailing list, so you can be the first to find out about upcoming events, classes, and free things like the survey ebook. We collect minimal information, and we don't share that information with anyone other than to let you know what's going on. You can also like and follow us on Facebook. And if you're on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the little bell icon, and you'll get notified when we go live. So join our community, help us to make it a place where we can share our experiences and give each other a hand, because that's what we're here for. Okay. So let me just take a quick look-see over here. Let's see. So now I slaughter people's names. I so do apologize. But Mikias, I'm going to say Mikias is watching on Facebook, and Tony the VA, of course, is on YouTube. And we do have a question. Hickam wants to know, which is your favorite and most effective method? Most effective, okay, requirement elicitation technique. I have to say, if it's dealing with I really prefer brainstorming for the big group areas. But if I'm working alone, and I'm going to go over this too, it is if you already have an application, it would be the analysis of the interface analysis. I do a lot of that. I tend to have worked in companies that were constantly merging applications, and so I was required to do that, to do that type of analysis, and prototyping. Although Kathleen does a much better job of prototyping than I do, but that's sort of the creative side of me that likes to do that. But those are sort of I would say those are my top three. But again, as a BA, you kind of have to be great, or not great. You have to be good at all. You have to understand and know when and how to use them. And, you'll use them at different times during the project, like I said. So I hope that answers your question. And, what is your favorite? Text back. What is your favorite technique if you've been a BA for a while? And there's plenty of smaller tools and methods and approaches within these bigger techniques as well. So if you have a favorite one of those smaller ones, just let us know. Text us back. Okay, so where were we? Okay. So, and actually brainstorming, look at that. That was a great segue. Thank you very much. So brainstorming is our next one. And how apropos when we're talking about community to brainstorm, because brainstorming is a technique that brings together an informal group of people to solve a problem or to generate ideas, right? So this is often a really fast-moving, fun technique that introduces a problem or a challenge, and then lets participants suggest as many ideas, facts, information, whatever. And pretty much the only rule is that the ideas will not be, criticized, discussed, or evaluated during the brainstorming period. So what happens in this environment is that it sort of shuts off the judgmental part of people's brains, right? And it taps into more of their creative sides. And it sort of causes this mind meld, this sort of fantastic chain reaction where participants sort of build on each other's ideas. Somebody will say something and somebody will go, and it'll just trigger something in them to build right off of that. And one of my favorite, when I'm standing in front of a room, and I tried to show this before, but you really can't see it. We did a test earlier, so we're going to have to find another way to show it to you folks. But whether you're in a group and brainstorming, or even if you're on your own, not brainstorming, but trying to come up with a bazillion ideas, is mind mapping. And mind mapping, basically, when I'm in front of a room, let's say you wanted to create a feature around, purchase orders. You order something from somewhere. You draw a circle in the middle of the board or the whiteboard, and you put purchase orders. And then people just say the first thing that comes to their mind with purchase orders. So it could be, there's a customer for a purchase order. There's an invoice that follows a purchase order. There's the product itself. there's an inventory. And then each one of those four bubbles, say, that I just talked about, have their own little branching. So if you look at the customer, you would have what's their credit card number, what's their address, what's their shipping address. If they had a credit card, what's their expiration date? Are they at a certain customer level? Do they get discounts? And ideas fly everywhere. And that's the point of brainstorming, and using that mind mapping tool just helps you sort of document everything in that process. And I use it as well when I'm trying to come up with the different fields that might be applicable to a form that someone may not have thought of. So you can use it, as well, not just in that big general, sort of brainstorming area, but it's really creative. It's really fun when you're trying to come up with a new product. You just throw ideas out there, and then after the fact, you analyze that, and you analyze it as a group. You try to put all of these. You can do it with stickies as well, too. Those these little sticky things. You can do that on the wall. You've probably seen that a bazillion times. And you can put them all up there and then rearrange them into order and say, this works, this doesn't work. So it's a really it gets everybody, it's a great team building exercise. It gets everybody, again, thinking the same, towards the same type of goal, but everybody has a little something different to offer. And there just might be that one little kernel in there that pushes your product, from being a mediocre to, a star product. So it's a great technique, and it's so easy. It's just sort of managing the people so that, again, they're not judging what someone is saying. And judging could be eye rolling, anything like that. You just have to kind of control that. But other than that, it's amazing what comes out. It's an awful lot of fun too. So I highly recommend that one. Now, let's say that you need to evaluate an existing application. Maybe you're trying to improve it to identify, maybe redundancies in data entry, or you're trying to reduce the click stream or improve the flow, or you have to integrate with another application, or maybe you have to completely migrate one application to another. For that, interface analysis is a great technique to identify, all the issues and opportunities. So interface analysis really is the process of identifying and modeling and documenting the user interface requirements, the external components, hardware devices that support the interface, and the controls and the interactions. So it sort of focuses on users, tasks, flows, content, work environment. It identifies the human versus the computer-oriented task. It describes inputs, outputs, and triggering events, those type of things. And there are many ways to approach an interface analysis. An entire show could be done on that. Typically, you could start by creating a navigation map. How does the application, how do you move through the application? How do the links, where do the links go? Where the different pages? You can also create a data flow of how the data flows through. And a data dictionary is really helpful. And when it comes down to looking at the field level on forms, for example, or if you have grids, with a lot of data on them, when you start looking at that field level, there could be radio buttons where there should be checkboxes, but somebody didn't really think about it. Let's say you have a multi-column grid. And when you click on a row within that grid, a subgrid displays below it. Now, to complicate things, there may be a clickable icon that has additional information. So let's assume that some of this information is redundant, but it's not noticeable right away. Because the screens are sort of disparate and they're in different areas, and the grids maybe don't line up, the way they should. Now, you could list all of these column headers in a spreadsheet, but it's sort of harder to look at that information. So what I like to do is I go old school, And it's just like, behold the power of the stickies. This is where the stickies, and I love to do this. And I'm probably going to show this. It's probably going to change the color of the screen, so don't freak out. But typically I have a drawing. This is just a regular drawing pad. You get them anywhere, a kid's drawing pad. And when I'm going through like a grid table, and like I said, maybe there's a main grid, and I'll use one color of stickies to put the header, the column header, a sticky for each column header, and I'll just put a little thing like, MG to signify main grid up in the top. And I actually go sequential, how they're listed currently on the grid. And by doing this type of, and if you have a subgrid, again, you can put it, this is a pink sticky, not that you can tell. And then I'll put a SG for a subgrid. By taking them and laying them out on a table, all of the different column headers or fields, you start to see patterns. Now, for example, when I did a recent one, because people just ask for, if it's a report or a grid, people just ask for fields without thinking. And then we just sort of add them on to the end without thinking about, design or how well they're being used. So when you lay them out in stickies like this, or a Trello, if you use Trello board, we've talked about that before, you can move the stickies around. And by looking at it, I could see that, oh, the first column header, maybe it was patient name. The second one might have been a prescription number. And all the way down in column 6 might have been the patient ID. So by doing this, I can tell, what, patient ID needs to be near patient name, start grouping things appropriately. Also, by laying them out this way, when I look at that primary grid of the subgrid, I can see that, what, they're calling one field by 2 different names. That's something you might not pick up on if you didn't lay these things out. And that's a redundancy. I'm seeing a prescriber license number called a prescriber license number, and in a different page, I'm seeing it called provider license number. Same exact field, probably 2 different developers, or it was put in at 2 different points in time. And you would never know that unless you did this interface analysis. And again, stickies is kind of a cool way to do it, because again, you can move them all around, and you can maintain the same numbers, so you can put them all back in place and show users, look, this is the way it's laid out, and then rearrange them, add another little number on the other side, rearrange them and say, this is what we're proposing. It's really a handy way of getting your point across. And I just love stickies, It's like all of these supplies, business supply places, the stores, it's like they're like my best friend. I'm in there all the time. They're like, hey, how you doing? Because I'm always buying stuff like this, or online. Okay, so once you identify the issues and identify all of these fields, as I was saying, then a really great way to display it, and you could do it with the stickies and say, look, this is what I recommend. Or you can create a quick little prototype to show different types of solution options once you do all this. Now, a prototyping is the process of building a model of a product, a process, or an application in order to evaluate maybe a concept, to clarify a design. It's great for clarifying a design with users, or to demonstrate the intended functionality for the users. And prototypes can range from, wireframe mockups, comps, to a full working prototype that contains almost all of the functionality of the actual product. But honestly, to start, they don't have to be anything fancy. To get your point across to users, you could simply do a quick sketch or a quick drawing. And you only need to understand a few things in order to do that, right? And not only does it help the users, the developers, and the QA to get a better understanding of what you're talking about, but it also helps you as the BA to work out logic or use cases and identify any missing or confusing functionality. And it's as simple as, coming up with, you won't be able to see this, but we actually used it, Kathleen and I, recently when we were looking at use cases as to when to use a combination of checkboxes versus radio buttons based on different use cases. So it helped us to work through that logic. It would definitely help users. For example, if you had a drop-down list, this is a really simple example. and users weren't understanding the drop down list. You could just simply draw a little box with a little down arrow, and then maybe there's three decisions to make. Maybe we should put the label above the drop box. Maybe we should put the label in the drop box, or maybe inside that drop box we say something like, please select status. Let's say it's status. So there's three different ways to potentially display and label that Dropbox. So a picture will definitely help somebody do that. Maybe they want to have their main navigation across the top banner bar. You could show them that. Or maybe they want it down the left nav. It just helps users who have never probably had anyone show them this or ask them this type of questions. They get it. They can then bounce ideas. As soon as they see that picture, they can say, you know what, this needs to be there. Maybe we could do this. Now, some of it, again, may be wants versus needs, but you can easily filter that out. But by showing them this, it's invaluable. Just a quick little drawing. If you want to get a little more fancier, you can use something like Google Draw, or I use Visio to create more of the comps, the more finished piece that you may want to show a client. And it's a series of comps, and you walk them through what it would look like if you were actually using that feature or that application. Very powerful. And so practice that. That I found that it is, if you do nothing else, that is the best thing to do. And again, just understand Dropboxes. Some users don't even know that if they've never been online with a certain application. So again, very, very, very helpful. Let's see. So I think that about wraps up. Let me just check with Kathleen. Okay, what else is going on here? Okay, I have to get closer because these words are so tiny. I'm going to get a bigger screen, I promise. Jason, Janice, and Mohammed are watching on Periscope. Hey, how are you? Hope you're enjoying the show. And okay, and Hickam also likes brainstorming. I love it. I love it. Okay, I think that about wraps up. If anybody has any questions, I don't see any questions right now. But again, I know if you think of something later, you can definitely go onto our website, drop us a line, and Kathleen, I think, can put up where all the good places that you can find us that are out there. Light up, there you go. So drop us a line. We get a lot of suggestions about shows that you'd like to see. So also do that. Or if you have any questions, you can follow us on thebazone.com. We're on Twitter at the BA Zone, Instagram.com at the BA Zone, Periscope TV, the BA Zone, Facebook.com, the BA Zone, YouTube.com. There's getting so many, I'm running out of oxygen. So we're just about everywhere. And we do appreciate you coming by. Okay. I think that's good. Again, drop us a line, any future questions. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. And have a great night and a positive, productive week.
We have a
And
question up on the screen.
Oh, we do. Hold, please. We have another question. I always get in trouble. I usually wait a couple of seconds, and or Kathleen just stops me dead in my tracks. Okay, how do you gather requirements when a stakeholder tells you this? Did you say this is stupid? Is that what it says, Kathleen? I can't quite see it all the way over.
Yes, that's what it says. That's why I
wanted
to catch you.
This is stupid.
I'm sitting here laughing.
That is so funny. When they tell you this is stupid. Okay, well, well, the first thing you try to do is not laugh. He's got a little bit of a follow-up
to give you a little more context there.
Well, as well mind you, they know nothing about the BA role. Okay, so when they say this is stupid, I think it's sort of like, what I would say is, okay, you may say it's stupid now. But I think once you start getting them involved with this process, and again, you've got to understand where people's motivations are coming from. A lot of times when we get, and I have gotten that type of thing, they don't know what BAs do, they think it's stupid. You can't approach it as like it's a team building skill. It's more like you're having this conversation with them. And I think that the thing is, you have to ask, why do you think that? Why do you think that this is a stupid process? It may be that no one has ever asked them their opinion before. They've never done this process. They expect things to just happen. And we can say, yeah, they'll just happen, but then it will be stupid because it's like bad information in, bad information out. So we kind of have to laugh a little and say, yeah, this may seem like stupid now, but bear with me for a little bit and get them involved as soon as possible in helping design the system. Because I think the biggest noise makers, you sort of have to give them a task and you have to kind of hold them to that task and get them involved. But yeah, we have to deal with a lot of stupid out there. And they've probably had to deal with a lot of, stupid other people as well that have been asking them questions. I mean, a lot of times part of the problem is they may be answering the same stuff for the fifth time and no one's ever done anything about it. So you kind of got to walk a little bit a mile in their shoes and just try to get through it. If they continue to say it's stupid and it's not worth it, then it's not really worth it for them to be in the room as well, because they'll probably just be a distraction. So, but we do have some good articles out there on conflict resolution. So please go out to the website and take a look at that. On the money. Thank you so much. All right. Let's see. Do we have anything else out there? I think we might be good night. And again, if you come up with other questions and humorous ones like that, we love that as well. Just drop us a line. All right, everybody. I guess that wraps it up for tonight. And again, catch us next week live. And good night, everybody, and take care of yourselves. All right, Kathleen, take us out.